Greetings, Politico Arena fans. This is Scott Stanzel, and since it's open mic weekend, I thought I might talk a little bit about how some special interest money is flowing out of the Beltway in the 202 and making its way all the way out here to the beautiful Pacific Northwest to engage in a political fight that we're having in the state of Washington. No state has established a state income tax since the early 1990s when Connecticut did it, and it hasn't been a happy economic experience for them. But on the ballot this fall, here in the state of Washington, is Initiative 1098, which would establish our first ever state income tax. If this were to pass, Washington state would go from being one of only 7 states that doesn't have a state income tax to having one of the highest marginal income tax rates in the country at 9%, behind only Hawaii, California, and Oregon. So I thought it might be interesting to take a look at where the money supporting the advocates of the income tax is actually coming from. So as of last week, in the last public disclosure report that was due, the advocates of this tax had raised $4.3 million. The opponents of the tax, Defeat 1098 campaign, which I am involved with, had raised $4.1 million. But let's take a look at where that $4.3 million is coming from. Of the 4.3, nearly $2.7 million comes from government employee unions. That's 62% of all the funding for this state income tax is coming from government employee unions. Interestingly, most of that $2.7 million, about $1.9 million of that comes from SEIU affiliates. Of interest, though, is Washington, D.C. Why is Washington, D.C. interested in this fight? Well, the headquarters of the SEIU has dedicated $700,000. Headquarters in Washington, D.C. has dedicated $700,000 to try to establish this tax. The headquarters of the NEA has contributed $250,000 to the advocates of this income tax to try to establish this tax. Why are they doing that? Well, they're doing that because they see the investment of millions in a brand new income tax on Washingtonians will mean billions in payoffs in new government spending down the road. So this is the type of fight, the signature fight between those rich government employee unions and the grassroots folks and the business community who don't want to see more and more spending and more taxes by their state government here in Washington.